I wasn't planning on working today, but I decided to just do it. You know what I mean? Because I was looking at the videos and I got on, and Instagram was still uploading a reel from yesterday. So I was like, oh crap, I think there's something wrong. And it was given an error message when I tried to re upload the video. And I've researched what that error message means. And it meant that you have reached your daily limit. And so I tried to re upload it. It said that you've reached your daily limit. So I was like, crap, what can I do right now? And then I decided to upload another video of the next day. It's a smaller video and it uploaded perfectly fine. So if you're getting an error, it probably means that the file is too large, or maybe it's most likely means that the file is too large, or it just doesn't want to upload it. So don't be too scared of your computer, guys. Like, you'll probably look at your computer and you'll be like, why can't I upload this thing? And then you're going to go to your phone and you're going to try to upload it from your phone. I highly suggest that you don't do that. Like, just pay attention to your computer, because if you think about it, only certain people allow you to monetize from their platforms. And you got to think, like, who pays the most and who's going to allow you to upload the most. Like, YouTube has absolutely no problems uploading my stuff. Like, I'd be uploading and there's absolutely no problems with it. The only thing is that when it's those long form videos, I don't get much traction on it. But other than that, I suggest that you pay attention to your computer, see what your computer is saying. You got to think of your computer as a person, bro, because it is a person. It's a real thing that works for you. And if something is off, it most likely means that there's a problem. Of course, you can troubleshoot, but don't get aggravated and frustrated and be like, I troubleshooted this like 5 times, it's not working. You should only need to troubleshoot it like twice. Like, I uploaded that video, it didn't upload since yesterday, so I re-uploaded it, and I saw that it accepted a smaller video instead of the larger video. And Instagram does say that sometimes when you upload, it will say that you need to upload something that is 1 GB or less. And I've definitely tried to upload something that was like 3 gigs or 1.5 or 2 gigs, and it worked perfectly fine. Sometimes it just doesn't work, and that's just your computer telling you, hey, don't post it here. Post it on your other stuff. Like, people follow me, my friends follow me on Facebook, they follow me on Instagram, so they kind of get the same stuff back to back. So I know that they're looking, they're watching, but it might be a little bit annoying. But also, don't be afraid to post, to make videos where you're talking about different things. Like, I'm talking about OnlyFans and porn, and you should find out, like, where are you able to bring those content, and not be afraid to post them elsewhere. You know what I mean? So, wow, I'm looking at my screen. I think my audio is going to be distorted or something like that, but it should be perfectly fine. Um, so I guess I'll talk a little bit about what I was doing. I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't planning on posting today. I was going to make it a chill day and work on my book. Because every day it feels like I'm working on something. You know what I mean? Like, even though I'm disabled, I still feel like I can do something. So I'm trying to do it. And that definitely gets you going at the end of the day. But so far, I've been wondering why I chose to start working. Like, that's probably what people are going to ask. They're going to be like, bro, you don't have to do anything. Why are you choosing to do something? And that's a very important question. You know what I mean? Like, why would I decidedly go for work instead of just chilling and just reading books every day and just going for walks and going to the park and playing tennis with my friends and doing stuff like that. But I've noticed that that's not ingrained in us. You know what I mean? Like the will to work comes from a deep place. But for me, it's more scientific than anything. You know what I mean? Like, why do I want to work? What's getting me to work? And why am I pushing for it for so much? Like, why don't I just give up? And it was after I tried weed and sassafras and I joined the two together and I got as high as anything. And for a whole year, I was getting high. And it kind of seems like no matter what you do, you are going to chase the high. So they're like, weed is bad, weed is this. Uh, there's a problem with it. I wouldn't. I would say that there is a problem with it. You know, like the way that you're treated for doing it is absolutely ridiculous. Um, I see this girl Ari on TikTok and Instagram, and she talks about how it is to be a mattress worker. She calls it mattress worker. She works for OnlyFans. But she talks about how it is to be a mattress worker and how it's tough to be looked at because people think that you're doing a job that's too easy and all you do is sell your body and your family's ashamed of you. But like if you look at it in a different way, it's like that's how drug dealers are looked at. We're looked at as disgusting people. We're looked at as people that can't get our shit together. And sometimes this happens to some of us where we literally fall into a hole and we can't get out. It's like a K hole, but a real live one. You know what I mean? Like not the one that you take when you take ketamine, but like one where you fall into this hole, and that's exactly what happened to me. I fell into this hole and I could not get back up. I was struggling for years. Like at first, I was doing well. I was working at Costco, doing my 9 to 5, and then I was going to school as well. I hated school. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out what to do with it. You know what I mean? Like my parents constantly say, like, "Hey, if you don't go to school, your life is going to be shit. You need to go to school. You need an education. You need to be able to do this." And my dad is still the same way. Like when I got disabled, he was like, "Listen, you need a job. Like nobody's going to respect you." And he says that every time we get together. He gets that any chance that he gets, he says it. And it really gets to you. You know what I mean? Like it's like peer pressure and you don't notice how real it is, how real peer pressure is until you find yourself in that situation. Um, was I peer pressured into selling weed? I I would say I chose it. It's a little difficult. It's a little difficult. I have been around weed since I was in high school. You know what I mean? Like I think my first blunt was when I was 16 and freshman year of high school. And from there, I never turned back. Like, actually, I did a couple of times. Like, I was smoking on and off, on and off. Like, it wasn't a real big thing. Like, when I smoked, I definitely felt different. Oh my gosh, did I feel different? I felt so different. It was a new experience and it kind of like hooked you in. You know what I mean? Like, I, it's hard to explain. Honestly, it's easy to explain, but it's hard to explain at the same time. Because if you tell a person that, they're gonna look at you and they're just gonna shake their head and they're gonna be like, "That's why I don't do that shit." And you're like, "Why not?" But I wouldn't suggest it for platform purposes. Like, I'm not sure if I could talk about this. I'm going to put this on Spotify, and this is just going to be one of my podcasts. My sisters are back home. Shout out to them for going on vacation and giving me time to breathe because it's kind of stifling in here. Like, everybody's always on top of each other and it gets to you a little bit. But it shows that they trust me. It shows that I'm doing well. And that's what I really want. You know, I want to be able to be told that, hey, Abram, you're doing fine. Because when you have a mental illness and you've been brought into the hospital so many times, you do wonder, you know what I mean? Like, and I wonder if you know what it means to find some. I'm probably saying that wrong, but yeah, like it makes you wonder. And for them to really step in and be like, hey, you're doing fine, just keep going, really helps me out. But generally, why do I still push to work when I don't necessarily have to? It gets me there's just like a whole bunch of reasons. One, I just don't feel like giving up. I feel like if I do not work, like I'm just going to it's not a problem of not working. Like, see, I can't explain it. If I do work, I feel like I can do it. If I don't work, I feel like I can do more. So generally what I do is that I'm like, okay, let me push myself to see what I can do because that's what I've been doing all along. I've seen myself uh push for better. You know what I mean? Like, at first I was working Instacart and I was doing Instacart and I was doing that job and I was doing it well. I was making a lot of money from it, you know, like I got like close to $200 a day. I was working 5 days a week. I was making $1,000 a week, you know, 900 to $1,000. And I started researching a little more and then I saw that there was I completely forgot about Uber. Uber didn't hire me at first because I didn't have a car that was good enough. All I had was a 2000 Nissan Altima. This was back in like 2015, 2016. You needed a more recent car to do Uber. So I signed up for Uber. That didn't work out. And I signed up for this other platform. It was food delivery. And what they did, Uber bought out that platform, and everybody that was on that food delivery app immediately got changed into an Uber Eats person. So I did that, and I was just so surprised. I looked at my phone again, and all of a sudden they were like, yo, you can do Uber Eats. And I was like, all right, that's cool. That's cool. So I started doing Uber Eats. And then I started to look again. I started to research again. You know, I was living on my own. I was working, and then I got to Uber Eats. Then I also saw TaskRabbit, and I was like, what is this? And I started researching a little bit, and then I found out that, you know, I signed up. It cost $20 to sign up for TaskRabbit. You know, that was an amazing thing too. That was a really good idea that Leia has made to make you pay for getting the job. You know what I mean? Like pay for the application. It's kind of like trying to get a house. Like you pay your realtor, but it was a different idea, and I didn't have much money at the time. I had $20, but I was really struggling in a way, but at the same time I was perfectly fine. Basically, I wasn't working too many hours because I noticed that I was getting burnt out and I was doing 12-hour days, 5 days a week. So I was working 50, like 60 hours a week. I was working 60 hours a week, but I was making $1,000. So it seemed like a good idea at first, but then I started noticing that I was falling behind on my daily activities. And I was just like, no, this doesn't work. This actually doesn't work. It seems like it does, but it doesn't. So uh, I started to cut back on the time that I was working. And I was like, okay, okay. So I started to cut back a lot more. And I was like, how much money do I actually need? All I needed was $600 for rent, 120 for insurance, and like an extra $200 for debt and groceries. So all I needed was about $1,200. I was making, all I needed was about $1,200 a month. You know what I mean? So I was making $1,000 a week, but all I needed was $1,200 a month. So the idea was that I either work for 2 weeks and then stop working for the next 2 weeks, or I cut down hours each week. And that is what you have to do, guys. Like, you have to cut down your hours weekly, instead of trying to do it all at once. That just burns you out. You're not thinking for those 2 weeks. And those last 2 weeks, you're preparing to do another heavy amount of hours for those 2 weeks again. Like, you're just preparing, and then you're doing, and then you're preparing, then you're doing, and you think that you have a good workflow, but you really don't. It's really destructive. So I decided to make only $1,200 a month. So I cut down my hours, and I was doing like maybe 20 to 25 hours a week. I can't remember exactly how much, but I'll definitely look it up. I started working much less hours. So you make about $17 an hour at Instacart, and with that $17 an hour, you can do the math. You don't need to work that many hours per week. Like, you know, maybe 25, 30 hours. But I was working much less hours per week. I went from 70 hours or 60 hours all the way down to 30 hours. So I had so much more free time. So I started researching a little more on my free time, and I found TaskRabbit. And that was after I found Uber Eats. I found Instacart, Uber Eats, and then TaskRabbit. And I paid $20 for TaskRabbit to get on their list to see if I could work. The $20 is non-refundable, and you don't know if you get the job or not. But then I got the job, and I was just like, whoa, things are looking up for me. Things are looking great. I'm doing that. And then I'm like, all right, cool, let's do this TaskRabbit thing. And I started getting real nervous. I was like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know what it entails. I opened up the app, and it started listing different things. It was like accounting, uh, furniture assembly, driver, um, office worker. So they had these CEO type, not CEO, corporate type jobs, and then hard labor type jobs. But the labor wasn't that bad. It was like help moving and cutting the lawn. It was stuff like that. It was jobs that you wouldn't want to do, but if you had to do it, you wouldn't mind it. It's not too bad. But they have like 50 jobs listed, guys. So you have to check it out for yourself. Definitely check out TaskRabbit. So I was like, I have an associate's degree. I can do accounting. I searched up, I was like, associate's degree. What can you do with an associate's degree in business administration? Science, business administration. I forgot exactly what degree I have. I have to be more prepared for this. But I had that, and I was just like, I can definitely be an accountant. So I notched off accountant, office worker, those jobs. And then I noticed that you can choose the amount that you make. I didn't notice that until later on. And then so I notched those, and then I also notched furniture assembly, help mover. The minimum for help mover was about $25. Furniture assembly was $16. Like I said, you can choose how much you make for each job. It's really amazing. It's a really great thought out idea that I would have never thought of before. Never in my life would I have thought of choosing your own pay. That's how life should be. So I was like, all right, cool. Let me do this furniture assembly. So I started doing furniture assembly for like a couple of weeks, for like, a couple of weeks. And I was like, this job is pretty hard. Like, at least I get a steady 17, $16 an hour with Instacart. I'm giving my car a break. It's a 2000 Nissan Altima. This is 2021, I think it was. And I was just like, all right, it's cool that I have this job. Like, I can do it. Now that I know that I can do it, that's great and everything. But like, what is this really helping me with? 2 weeks later, I start scrolling through the app. I start looking through it, and I was just like, oh my gosh, you can pick your own pay. You can charge these people more money. And then I started scrolling up. I was like, wait, how much can I charge? And it was up to $500 an hour. And I was just like, that's just amazing. So after doing that and going through that experience, I was just like, I can do more in life. And that's what really pushed me. It was just like, I'm really smart. I know I can do this. I have problems with my schizophrenia, but it does seem like what it's doing is it's guiding me through life. It might sound really messed up, and I'm not condoning anybody to like go out there and get schizophrenia or something like that. It's only for each person and it's made by genes, but what it started to do was shape my life in differently. You know what I mean? Like, you can see from the outside in, you can see that, okay, a person that has schizophrenia, if they have problems with their schizophrenia, they can go on disability and then they can get EBT. And then they can choose to work or they don't have to work. And for me, it was like, I had a lot of trouble with my schizophrenia. And then I couldn't drive. And then everything was just pointing at doing something that is less stressful and is more real for me. Like, what can I do? So, like, for example, I'm sitting here talking for 23 minutes and I cut these recordings short because I can't really record around people. So, like, I'm at home right now, and if my dad walks in, if my sister walks in, they mess up the recording. I don't edit my recordings, but I did just notice that if you do audio recordings, you can do a little bit of editing, just to get rid of the noise because I have a lot of noise on my mic and I want to get rid of that. And it captures great quality stuff. So this is a new $150 mic. I got it for $125. The Elgato Wave 3, shout out. I think it's amazing. You guys tell me how it sounds. But I've been guided into this type of life that I've been working towards for a very long time. I've been looking back at my pictures on Google Photos and I'm just like, I don't know what I've been doing with my life. I have no photos. I've taken photos with my ex-girlfriend. I don't have those. I've taken photos with my friends and I barely have those. They're on Instagram. And it really started to speak to me. It was like, listen, I think that you have to start recording your life. You have to You just have to. You just have to start recording. You have to start documenting and getting your life on track. So I started writing a lot, and at first I was writing a lot. I wasn't taking any videos or pictures or anything like that because I didn't know what to do. I had a crappy phone. For a very long time I didn't have a good phone. And when I started getting better equipment, I noticed that I started to use them more. So I was just like, you know what, Abram, I'm going to start buying you more equipment. I'm going to start getting you more better stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to research a little bit and then I'm going to get you the best product that I can get because it seems like this works for you and it will work for everyone else. It's just like if you see that you're not recording and you have a $50 Samsung phone, that is why you're not recording. You know, if you don't have a camera, like the entry level Nikon Z30, the one that flips around so that you can see yourself, costs about 850 when it's not on sale. But when it's on sale, it's 650. If you don't have that camera, bro, you're not recording anything. You're not gonna do it. So there are people that can do it without the big equipment and the crappy camera, but there are a lot of people that are like, no, that's not how it works. It doesn't work for a lot of people. For me, it started working much differently. It was just like, okay, now I finally have money. I finally got my disability to go through, and I got a huge check from it. And the first thing that I bought was a desktop computer. And then the second thing that I bought was a new cell phone, the Galaxy S25. And then I got the Elgato microphone. Then I got the Nikon Z30. I was just slowly building, and then I noticed that I was creating and creating. And the next thing I knew, I had so much content that it takes me days to upload this stuff. And I have to stop recording and I have to slow down, and it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy about the amount of content that I can make. It might not sound 100%, but I know what I can do when I'm at 100%. Everything goes by feeling by now. If anybody's listening to this, like the only reason why I'm able to do this is because I feel much better and I feel like I can push myself to do it. Before, I did not feel well whatsoever and I hated my life. I worked at Amazon, working twice a week, only twice a week while going to college. And my mom was like, "You were doing so well. You were doing so well." I was like, "Yes, on paper, I was doing well, but mentally, spiritually, I was doing so bad, so bad. I was not happy. I was really down in the dumps. Just, it wasn't working for me." And it's not until that I started to feel better and I started to notice that I have energy to do stuff, I started doing it. So that's another reason why I started choosing to work. But I always choose to work, you know what I mean? It's just that I didn't know where to aim my energy. My energy was all over the place. It's like every time I got out of the hospital, they started to put me into therapy, and I hated therapy. And the only way that I can get out of therapy was if I started to work. So I started to work as soon as I got out of the hospital, and that was the worst decision I could have made. So I was going to work while I was doing therapy 3 times a week, and I was just I was just hot headed. You know, I was just pissed off. I was just like, why am I in this hospital? What am I doing here? And what am I doing at therapy? Why am I doing therapy 5 times a week? Like, it's a punishment. It absolutely is a punishment. And these people don't care. They think that it works. Therapy only works for certain people, okay? It helps you a little bit, but doing it excessively is a problem. It turns into a punishment. It is not helpful whatsoever. I remember I was doing therapy for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I was telling my sister, I was like, bro, I can't effing do this. I cannot do this. What is wrong with you? And she was like, okay, okay, we'll change it. We'll change it for you. And I was just like, stop making me do stuff like this. This is too strenuous for me. She's like, okay, okay. They started to back off, as soon as I started talking. Um, but I was doing therapy 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and then I started working at this restaurant 2 days a week for like 7 hours a day on their busiest days. It was If somebody was looking at me, it was so heart wrenching. It was just like this kid does not know what he's doing. He just feels like he has to keep going. He has to just keep going, and it was heartbreaking. Looking back at it, I was just like, why did you work so hard? Literally 8 hours a day, 5 days a week therapy. And then the next 2 days, I was working 7 hours a day. It was heartbreaking. It was terrible. Um, Therapy does turn into a punishment, which is why they say that it should be meant voluntary. You know what I mean? Those people that were there, they were voluntarily there, most of them. But a lot of them was put there by a judge. A judge decides if you have to do therapy or not. And he can put you in a program that is really strenuous. And it's funny as hell the way I got out of it. I'll get into that next time because I just did a 30-minute recording. I wasn't expecting to talk for like 10 minutes. I thought this would be a quick recording, but it ended up being really long. But yeah, yeah, I hit a couple of points there. So why do I decide to work instead of just like giving up and what I think of therapy? And that's gonna keep popping up for me. Um, but yeah, I just want to do more. I know that I can do more. And I'm telling you, all I need to do is find investors. I need to find people that will invest in me, that will be like, yo, Abram, you can talk a lot. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, but you can just keep going and keep going and keep going. And that's great. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. But that's what I want to do. Um, I take breaks in between. I only record during a certain time. I have to keep up with the recordings on my phone. It's ridiculous. There's so much of it. But I'm gonna try. I'm gonna keep trying, and I won't give up.